Okay, so Dumelang, hi. Hey guys, so today I'm gonna share a little bit of what I like to do in order to kind of balance myself, remain calm, welcome good energy. So I'm gonna burn some incense, okay? This incense is really cool. It's about different chakras that are in your body. Yeah, I'll put up a video where I actually just tell you more about chakras, what they are and stuff. Like really soon. So yeah, I'm lighting my incense. Okay. It's really good. So essentially, a lot of people sometimes go into like not feeling well, and they wonder what like is the reason behind that. But more often than not, they have their chakras blocked. Now, your chakras are various sources of energy. You have 7 in the body, and you know, like depending on which one is blocked, you're not able to have a good flow of energy out of that. So like, for example, you have one that's called the 3rd chakra. If it's blocked, you're not able to communicate. You have the heart chakra. If it's blocked, you're not able to express love. Just so many things. And yeah, I will do a video where I speak about that. So then beyond you know, just putting some incense on that I really like and enjoy, I usually put on some music. Okay, and you know, I'm doing all of this because of just the message that I want to put out there today. I want it to be good. I want good energy to flow within this environment. I want it to be positive, and I want it to, you know, hopefully have a positive impact on you guys. And then I burned some candles. I love candles. Who are the candle lovers? If you love candles, let me know in the comments section. Show some love. YouTubers will say, show some love. Show some love. Okay, I think this candle is almost out, which is sad. It's a really good one, but it's okay because we live in abundance. We're blessed. And this is another one. So this is a sweet cinnamon pumpkin candle. It's really good. But over here I have a green tea one. Okay, and it's equally good. Yes. Okay, this is what it looks like. There we go. I hope you got a good picture of that. It's green tea, fragrance free, smokeless, dripless, extra long burn time, and you can get 30 hours out of it. And yeah, it smells really good. Usually I'm extremely comfortable when I'm sitting in like a comfortable meditative position. We're not gonna meditate, but I think I should do a video where I teach you guys like how to meditate, you know, something like that. But yeah. So, Dumelang Bagaetsho, welcome to Bagaetsho following Bliss. My name is Bliss. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I'm very happy for you to be here to join me and all of us on the platform. And if you're returning, welcome back. I'm so honored that you're able to join us again. Alright, so we're gonna get into it. Today's message is about spreading goodness, spreading positivity, and me really just sharing what I feel God has implanted in my heart to share. And these messages stem from just books that I've been reading, sermons I've been listening to, and just, you know, little drops of knowledge that I've picked up over the last 2 weeks, and I wanted to share with you guys. So yeah, I hope that you want to, you know, stay tuned and listen to what I have to share. So today, guys, I'm going to talk about a few things that I've been learning throughout the week. You know, as I have been embarking on this journey in China, where, you know, obviously we've been hit and things have become different, one automatically has a lot of time to just consume knowledge, you know. So the things that like I felt like I never had time for before, I suddenly have like an exorbitant amount of time to like just delve into. So obviously the title of this video is Don't Be Afraid, Just Believe. Okay? And you know, where has that stemmed from? Like, why did I even like decide to make this the main thing? Well, I was watching the sermon and I felt like God was saying, you need to make a video about this. And I was like, God, why? And he was just like, look, baby girl, you're just my vessel. You said I must use you, so you don't get to ask me why, you just get to do it. So here I am, right? So, yeah, don't be afraid, just believe. And this is like just really talking about the things that you believe are like the things that you're supposed to do in life, your purpose, your mission, your value system, how you're supposed to apply those. Like, you're not supposed to be afraid of anything, you just have to believe in it. And those are just empty words for now, but you'll begin to understand as I delve into the other things. So I wrote down here, number one, if we don't feel like something is secure, we try to secure it ourselves. So I was watching the sermon and it was titled like Secure the Bag, right? And it's essentially talking about like this whole conception of like how as human beings we do so much to try and secure everything ourselves, when in actual fact, like, we're doing things the complete opposite. Like, we're supposed to leave everything in God's hands so that he can secure our bags. Because for as long as we're using our best endeavors to make sure that like actually we're closing all the holes that are like, you know, opening up in our lives, then we're essentially doing God's job, when God is the one that's supposed to actually just like, you know, do that job. So for example, like, you'll be out here trying to work hard to secure your coins because you want to make sure that like your family is taken care of, but like in actual fact you're playing this position, yeah, God. So now God isn't able to like actually make the provision that you really need, because obviously now you don't know what you need then. You think you know because you see what's on the surface, but you don't really know like what's gonna happen tomorrow. So instead of like leaving it to the person that's supposed to be securing everything, you're out here trying to play God and exhaust yourself in all of like your capacities, when really you're supposed to do what is best. Like, you're supposed to do everything that you can in your power, but like not to the point where now you're playing God in that role, right? So encouraging you guys to just like drop on your knees and start praying, because some of these things, like, it's not your fight. Like, that job that you want, it's God's job to secure it, not for you to. You're just supposed to have faith through all of it and believe, right? Not be afraid and like being bold about what you want to believe. The two, I wrote, our only trust being God. So many of us are busy looking at worldly factors, which hinders us from actually even getting started. So this is like actually address point one, because when you're so busy in the world looking at other factors instead of relying on God and like being that vessel and just trying to do what you have been like given the message to do, you look at worldly factors and you don't necessarily actually go bold enough towards the things that you're supposed to do, because you're looking at factors in the world that may be like limiting circumstances to the things that you're supposed to do. So for example, like, God says, you know what, when you're supposed to, I don't know, give Ban 100 rand, for example, 50 kwai, right? Whatever dollars, wherever you are in the world, that amount of money. You're supposed to be giving that thing, like that money, to somebody else who really needs it. But you're looking at your own pocket like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough for myself. So how am I even going to be out here giving to other people? Like, what am I going to use, right? When in actual fact, like, if you actually gave that amount of money away, you would understand that there's like greater provision that's been made by God elsewhere for you to have more than the 50 kwai. But because we don't believe in God, we don't get rid of our fears about what we see, and it hinders us from having actual faith about like believing in God for what's greater, right? And then point 4 is just saying like, if we're 55% sure about something, we're going to be doing it, right? Because you can never be 100% sure about most things in life. And this just speaks to how, you know, the reality is that a lot of us want to be 100% certain about certain things that have been implanted in our hearts. So, but we wait, or we don't get started because maybe we don't have enough resources. We feel like we don't have the right connections. We feel like we don't have anything to get started, when you actually have enough to just get the car moving. And, you know, the analogy here is that like, once you get the car moving, you pump the brakes, perhaps like at your next stop there'll be somebody else who's just like, I have some gas money for you, you know, and it allows you to get to like the next stop, you know. But so many of us are just like, we don't have like enough to get the whole way, and so we don't even get the car started to begin with. So we end up doubting like the whole picture about how it's going to happen, whether it's supposed to happen, purely because we don't have like maybe 20% of the picture like figured out. But the thing is, like, if you even look at the grades, the stories of the grades, the people that have actually made it, nobody knew what they were gonna end up with. Maybe some people had aspirations of the picture that we're trying to get to, but it's not always that everybody understood that like it was gonna be this big thing that amounts to something that serves greater purposes in life, right? But people got started regardless. So don't be afraid, just get started, right? Number 5, it says rejecting others is a reflection of our standards of perfection. Inherently our level of self-rejection, which goes back to the self-abuse and possibly rejecting the good that we deserve. So I've been reading a book called The 4 Agreements, and in it talks about like how essentially human beings are conditioned to like think a certain way, and so like from our very beginning we go through a period of domestication. So domestication ordinarily is used when it comes to like animals. So like, for example, you train your animal to be good, and if your animal is bad, it gets punished. If your animal is good, it gets like a little bit of a biscuit or like a new toy or like something. And human beings are pretty much raised in this way. So we get taught these rules of society. We get taught how to behave, and if we don't behave according to the way in which society functions, then somehow we don't, you know, we get reprimanded for like not behaving accordingly. It's like, oh, you're a bad boy, you're a bad girl, and you get punished for it, you get grounded for it, you know, until you actually learn how to behave according to the laws of society. But the minute you try to stray away from that, it's like society begins to reject you because you're being other, you're not following the rules. And sometimes when you follow these rules of society, you begin to like learn about this level of perfection, this standard of like what is good. But it's actually not always, it doesn't always amount to like what you deserve in life. It doesn't always amount to like what is good for you. It doesn't always amount to, just what is good. And so like you get into the cycle of self-abuse because you are in the system that just says to you, do X, Y, and Z for purposes of survival. And so you try to do all of these X, Y, and Z, but actually you're rejecting yourself because you're not honoring your own desires. You're not honoring the purpose that God has implanted in your heart, in your life. Guys, number 5, I think, says the only way to store information is by agreement. If we don't store it. If we don't agree, essentially, we don't store the information, right? And if we don't store this information, it goes away, obviously. As soon as we store it, we start believing in it. So we have faith in, you know, what we don't see, essentially, because we believe this information. And whatever goes against the book of law, which is the system that I was talking about, we start to fear, right? So all I want to encourage people is like, if there are things that you want to do in life, but it doesn't necessarily align with how the world, you know, wants to see you, how the world wants you to see it, like, it's okay. Try to essentially fight this like level of domestication, get to live your purpose. And your everyday steps aren't you responding to a level of fear that you have inside of you, right? Because the devil is a liar. The devil comes to steal and what? destroy. Sure. So why not just make sure that you work on whatever you need to get rid of that level of fear in your life, because as in you don't deserve it, right? And number 6, I wrote 4 points from this book, which you absolutely have to read. Number 1 is that you have to be impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't take anything personal. Number 3, don't make assumptions. And number 4, always do your best, right? So number 1 is that you have to be impeccable with your word, right? So like you have to understand that your word has a lot of power. It has the ability to create life or destroy life. Your word is the thing that can manifest, you know, your wildest desires, your wildest dreams, and really just become a mirror of what you believe God has implanted in your heart, right? So it's a force, it has power, and so you have to be really careful about the things that you say, not only to like other people but to yourself. You have to be able to take care of your mind, right? Because that's where seeds are planted, which allow, you know, beautiful plants to grow. And so to say, so you have to be willing to just be mindful and conscious of the things that come out of your mouth and the things that breathe in your mind, right? So your thought patterns. Being impeccable with your word means that you have to take responsibility for your actions, but don't judge or blame yourself, right? So like being able to take responsibility for your actions means that you have to be accountable to self, right? But a lot of the time, if you don't get something right, we have as human beings the ability to like really judge ourselves and put ourselves into a corner, and that can more often than not end up with us just being stuck in that corner and really feeling like, you know, we are in this dark space that we cannot get out of. So it's good to take responsibility for your actions. It's also good equally to allow self-care to prevail, right? So yeah, just be impeccable with your word. Don't destroy people's lives. Don't destroy your own life. And taking accountability means that you're actually trying to build your life, but you're not doing it in a way that is self-destructive, right? So I hope that you guys can remember that. And the second agreement that, you know, you have to essentially buy into is to not take things personal, because at the end of the day, you don't know what people are going through. That, you know, allow them to express themselves in certain ways towards you or towards themselves. The reality is that like when somebody's pointing a finger at you, 3 are pointing back at themselves. And so when you begin to understand that, you know that there's a huge chance that like what somebody else decides to do or how they decide to act has got absolutely nothing to do with you. Now, you have to be conscious enough to understand and remember that like sometimes the truth is some things do have something to do with you. You have acted in some manner or shape or form, and that's when, you know, you can be honest with yourself about whether or not there's some things to change. And yeah, but I think that, you know, when you remove your ego from the whole conversation, you can actually like decipher whether it's a matter of really being accountable or not taking it personally. The third one is that you shouldn't make any assumptions, right? I wrote that, and I think this is like directly from the book also. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe that they are true. We assume what others are thinking or doing, and we take it personally. And then we blame them and react by sending emotional poison with our words towards them. Okay? And I wrote here, because we are afraid to ask for clarifications, we make assumptions and believe we are right about the assumptions. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make someone else wrong for their own truth. It's always better to ask questions and to gain understanding than to make assumptions. We make assumptions to feel safe, to justify everything, and to explain and understand everything. To fulfill our need to know and to replace the need to communicate, we make assumptions. And this is usually because we don't have the courage to ask questions, right? And I also wrote that we also make assumptions about ourselves, which causes inner conflict. An idea is merely a seed in your mind, and actions make a difference. It strengthens your will, nurtures the seed, and establishes a solid foundation for a new habit to grow. So if you can ask questions and get the right answers, then you're able to form a new idea, which can make all the difference in your thinking patterns, right? So like my dad always says to me, like, don't make assumptions because, like, they really, really ruin things. And he said this to me, like, I think I must have been in university, which was a long time ago, and I've seen how deciding not to assume anything but to ask questions and to gain understanding has actually really, really, this smells so good, has actually saved me from a lot of conflict and has enabled me to resolve conflict in many situations. Okay. And number 4, I wrote here, always do your best, right? Because when you do your best, like, you're not giving more, you're not giving less, you're actually giving your best. When you give more than you have to give, you end up in like this space where you've just given so much, you've got nothing left, and it just leaves you depleted. When you give less than you have to give, it puts you in the space where you end up feeling all sorts of guilt and shame because you understand that you could have given more but you actually didn't. So, you know, doing either ends of the extremes isn't good. Like, you should actually just do your best with whatever you have to do or to give, right? And I want to read what I wrote here, which is like, everything is alive and changing all of the time. So your best will sometimes be high quality and other times not as good. It depends whether you're tired or energized, right? Whether you're sick or healthy, whether you're sober or drunk, whether you're feeling good or you're feeling upset. If you do more, you will spend more energy than is needed, and in the end, it will not be enough. When you overdo, you deplete your body and go against yourself, and it will take you longer to accomplish your goal. If you do less, you subject yourself to frustration, self-judgment, guilt, and regrets. Exactly what I've just said. Doing your best means you're taking action because you want to and enjoy the thing. Alright, and without action, there are no manifestations, which means there are no results, which means there are no rewards. Right, so essentially, life is about breaking the agreements that you have made with the world, which actually don't fulfill you, and beginning to form certain agreements which change your thinking patterns, which will change your behavior about what to believe in the world, about not having fear. And you know, these 4 agreements are some of the basic principles that can help you to change your thinking patterns, to change your behavior, to change the results and the reality that you currently have, if you want to change that. And I wrote here that you always have to check your environment, right? So you have to surround yourself with people who want the same thing that you do. A lot of us don't understand that, you know, there are many forms of no that happen around us, and that can come in the shape of like people that, you know, a vision has not necessarily been revealed to, and you know, they don't see what you see, they don't know what you know, and so they merely look at outside factors to limit what you can do with your life. And so you have to check your environment. If it means you're the only person within your environment that's saying this is good, this is great, then do that. But also remember that, like, you know, what I believe in myself is that, like, I have a lot of mentors in the world. A lot of them haven't met me, I haven't met personally, but Oprah is my mentor. The reality is that, like, I have access to her material, I have access to her teachings, and I don't need to sit on the phone with her to have a one-on-one conversation. Be nice, hi Oprah, get at me, it'll be nice, but like, I don't need to do all of that. I have some of her books, you know, like this one, for example, is a really, really great one. What I Know For Sure. Go get What I Know For Sure by Oprah. Amazing book, right? Brene Brown, Rising, like, mentor right here. Read this book, people. I have just started reading it. Haven't gotten anywhere close to the middle, but impactful merely because it requires me to do the work, right? Real work, be vulnerable, be honest, and do some work in my life about the things that I feel like I need work at. So that's cool. The last one is about awareness, and that you know, the reality is that, like, all of us have a responsibility to the self to always be aware of what's going on in our brains, the blockages, the hurt, the emotional traumas that we have, and to take responsibility in healing those things so that we can actually have better lives. We can inspire change within ourselves, which flows into inspiring change within others, right? And yeah, so like the best way that I get to this level of awareness is if I practice meditating. And I wanted to give a tip, which is that like a lot of the times when people meditate, they feel like they actually can't be still. Somebody will be on the mat for like 2 minutes, like 5 minutes, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have all of these thoughts like flying into my brain. I can't focus. What do I do? You don't drink water. I'm just thirsty. What I do is I actually welcome all of these thoughts, right? I always try to like hug my distractions. So I see them as a child that needs love, that doesn't know how to behave, and I'm the mother. And as the mother, remember, a lot of people think that actually they're not still because there are a million thoughts flying when they're trying to meditate. But if you think of yourself as the mother of your thoughts, you think of those thoughts as a child that just needs to be loved and hugged. And if you do that, you'll realize that after some minutes, your thoughts quiet down because you've given them love, and they just simply go away and you can actually be still. And once you've gotten to that, you have breakthrough above breakthrough, and you're able to reach a level of consciousness. So try doing that, leave a comment and let me know if it worked, but it usually works for me. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoy all of that and it helps you guys. Bagaetsho, follow your bliss.